Greetings all, Frog here. Let's do a little bit of the Stellaris patch notes here, and then if there's time left at the end, we'll play a little bit of Stellaris. But we are going to take a look. Version 1.1, which they are calling Clarke. Is that right? This one was Clarke. Yeah, the next one's I have them off. So version 1.1.0 has been released. Perfect timing on the music there, isn't it? So let's talk through it. We'll go a little bit of line by line. I mean, there's quite a bit of stuff going on here. You can see. Let me grab the scroll bar. It goes all the way down to here, but we'll talk about some highlights and what I like and what I think is good and where I've got some. Let's just dive into it. So first off, what are the features of the change? Number one, not on the list. Should be on the list. Number one, top of the list, does not affect save files. Thank you. I was so worried about this. I went in and played a little bit of the Pondites United Nations, which is the stream, because if I was going to lose one, I was going to lose that one. So that way I'd still have the YouTube one available to play if I had to roll back to 1.03, but I do not have to because it does not corrupt the saves. So thank you. I'm very happy about that. So, number two, Strikecraft attack behavior was changed, which is fine. We've never really used Strikecraft, but apparently they were stupid and slow, and now they're better. It talks a little bit about it later on down. You don't have to control planets to demand them in war, which is good. You can demand things that you don't control, but you get a better war scroll bonus if you do. So that's just like a U4. You can set custom ruler heir titles for your empires. We'll see that at the end. You can write a biography for your empire, which is kind of cool. You get an influence reward for establishing communications or being contacted, which is important because then it kind of encourages you to do the missions instead of ignoring them, which is what you should be doing right now because of the science thing. But apparently the science thing has been fixed. We'll see that it actually will store your science. Let's see. Collection of strategic resources on planet tiles is no longer suppressed by buildings, which is good. So that means that if a tile produces a resource, it will always produce that resource, even if there's a building on it, which is great. You know what? Let's make this a little bit bigger so you can kind of see it a little better. That should help. Sorry about that. The collection, I just read that. The AI aggressiveness has different settings now when you set it up. So because we don't have the opportunity to do that, from what I understand, it will be what they consider to be normal in games that are already saved. The shipwright mandate is different, which is fine. We actually nobody had the shipwright mandate for us, so I don't even know what it was, but it's been changed. You get a resource reward on raid on smugglers, which is fine. We pretty much always chose the other option. So, individualist empires will no longer generate election candidates with slaver mandates, and individualist pops are less likely to vote for candidates with slaver mandates, which makes sense because they're individualists. Slaver mandates no longer possible. Slavery is outlawed. What a shock! It's not possible to set difficulty in multiplayer, which is good because you can play with AI in multiplayer. And it's a world different than playing with AI in multiplayer in EU4, I'll tell you that. So it's good that there's different difficulty on that one. Symbols of domination is now available for everyone. That's something we'll talk about at the end. And then the platypus species and portraits flag and the flag are available for everyone. And I can't remember if that was a pre-release feature or if they've just added it in. I don't know. But we should probably play a platypus race because that sounds cool. Cherry ginger ale. Cold, crisp, refreshing, it says. So let's talk about the balance. Technology costs now increased by 10% per owned planet and 1% per pop. I don't like it. I think this is now too high the other way. I think what they were trying to do is they felt it was too easy to get technology by doing plus 1% per pop. And you're like, oh, well, that's right. Well, this is horrible now because you can easily get to 4 or 5 planets quick. And your technology is going to be incredibly slow. So say on those 4 planets we had 36 pop, which is likely actually. So plus 72% technology costs. Now you're going to have that same 36 pops, there's 36%, and the 4 planets is 76 pop. I mean, it doesn't seem like it makes a difference when you get to that high, but at the beginning levels, as soon as you get that second planet, you're at plus 20%. Just from the very beginning, you're at plus 1%, or plus 10%. I don't think it scales the right way, and I'm not sure. I think it's an overreach. We'll see. When you unlock spaceport technologies, you're more likely to research options for new reactor techs, which is good. Because obviously with spaceport technologies, it gives you some ship upgrades, and ship upgrades need more power, and so you need more reactors. And then same thing on the planet. Right? Spiritualists and materialists now get tech progress towards frequency tuning for space whales, which is cool because we're spiritualists in this one campaign, so we'll get some frequency tuning to talk to space whales, which we need. Talking about ethics, they've rearranged some of the ethics. Fanatic individualists now don't like collectivist empires, which makes sense, but they don't have increased ethics divergence, which is nice. Same thing with individualists. Fanatic xenophobes have 50% more influence, which is cool, and 25% more influence if they're just plain old xenophobes. The xenophiles have alliance influence cost reduced by 100%, which is great because we're fanatic xenophiles, I think, in one of them. I think it's actually the Iranians. And more embassies. Thank you. More embassies. I didn't look at the outliner. Ooh, shoot, I should have done that. I don't know if they've added embassies to the outliner, but they should have. We'll find out. It's not in the patch notes anyway. Fanatic militarists no longer gain additional influence from rivalries and no longer have increased influence cost for being in an alliance, so it kind of balances itself out. The pacifists now are more unhappy in militarists, and rather than increase food, it reduces growth needed, which is probably the better option because the way the formula is for food, it just wasn't quite as much of a bang for the buck. Now I think it's a little bit better. It's a good change. Strikecraft. Okay, so this is what happened now. The engagement range was increased, which is good, and the launch time reduced to 3 days, which I think is also good. Again, we don't use them a lot, but I could imagine easily how they'd be very, very slow. Fighter movement speed was increased. Bomber speed was greatly increased. And then they changed the evade chances from all the thrusters because evade was OP. So now there's actually more a possibility to get hit, and you might need more than just corvettes. So we'll have to consider that as we build our navies into the future. They've slowed down research speed again. And they must have thought that science was too high. I disagree, but they must have. Colony shelter modifier to ethics divergence reduced from 20 to 10%. That makes sense to me as well. The Empire capital complex can only be built on a capital world. Well, of course. Why wouldn't it? But apparently it could not. So that is just a small little change. The Theocratic Republic, which was the Pondite United Nations, now the core plan's reduced from 2 to +1, which is unfortunate because I think the next time we play it, we're going to have to create a sector, but that's fine. The same thing with Transcendent Republics. They're essentially the same. They've gone from +4 to +2. Excuse me. They've reduced the fire rate bonus, the army damage bonus from Aggressive and Butcher, and reduced the morale bonus for Glory Seeker, which I think are all fine options. They're not really that big a deal. The Youthful Elite modifier is reduced from 50 to 25, which I don't know because there's other things that were +25 also, so I'm not sure how that balances that out. All right. Miscellaneous AI improvements. One is that computer-controlled empires actually start outlawing AI during crises, which is apparently good. We haven't gotten to a crisis yet, but from what I understand, the AI would just let the artificial intelligence take over the empires, which makes them stronger, which makes the players almost impossible to defeat them, which is not fun. Relative power of subjects is now bigger, so we'll have to take a look at our vassal as we integrate. It might be too late as it is, but we'll see if that changed in any significant way. They will now colonize non-adjacent, which is big, I guess. It looks like they've been colonizing non-adjacent in my other campaigns, so they must have been a mistake. Or they would only do it within a certain distance, perhaps. Apparently the AI would not use planetary edicts, so that's been fixed. Empires that were previously controlled by a player in multiplayer refrain from making any major changes to a country for a period of 10 years, which is nice. So if you get bumped off because of a bad internet connection, nothing major is going to happen and you can get right back in. The AI was modifying species with bad traits to get them lots of traits, apparently, so that's been fixed. Military-focused sectors would not build military stations. That seems unfortunate. So that's been fixed, and the AI would not enslave anybody, which if they're slavers, they're supposed to do. AI no longer accepts white peace if they're winning. That makes sense. They're more open to trading access, migration rates, and research treaties, which is fantastic, because we've had problems with that in the past, especially when you rely on hyperlanes like we do. You fixed a bug where AI would offer peace deals that gave allies war goals to the players, so thankfully that didn't happen to us. Fixed the AI spamming players with military access offers, which has not happened, and the AI is now more aggressive against easily defeated targets, so that probably saved us in the long run that they weren't, but now they are. Apparently the AI would not disband ships even when running an energy credit, which is fine, because I don't do that. The respect tile resource settings will now prevent sectors from building the wrong type of building for a tile, regardless of special circumstances, which, since they don't suppress the type of product anymore, I'm not sure how needed this fix was. We've improved the way sectors determine which resources the country needs when constructing buildings, which makes sense. Fixed a bug where the AI would move pops back and forth. Fixed the budget issues that were preventing sectors from properly managing spaceports and construction ships. Also, colony ships, hopefully, is fixed in that too, because I hear that if you built a colony ship, then they would take it and do nothing with it. Warfare, they've improved tactics, they've improved military fleets and transport fleets, the AI will now fight crises. Apparently they didn't do that before, which is unfortunate. Military fleets will now move, which again, we didn't have a problem with that, and AI will actually try and fight things. Some UI improvements. Diplomatic notifications and pop-ups have been improved. I've seen them. They look pretty good. End of combat UI has been improved. It's all right. Colony ships still which pop it's carrying, which makes perfect sense. Localization of armor shield penetration is updated, which is all the wordings. If a weapon has both shield penetration and corresponding reduced damage to shields, the two effects are replaced together. So it ignores X% of shields, which is good because that was kind of confusing to know which is which. It's like, well, how does that work? Well, now it works together. It turns out, and it shows you how. Habitability icons in the galaxy map and systems view have been improved. I don't know what that means. We'll find out. And they've added a new experimental option for GUI scaling in the options menu, which I don't think we're going to worry about. In terms of user modding, they've done a bunch of things. You can see all that stuff that's now moddable that you could deal with. They've optimized some things to make it run faster, which is good. They've changed some lighting, textures, and all that stuff has been good. And then now there's this list of bug fixes. Military station maintenance is now correctly discounted by 25% instead of increased by 75%. Well, that's a big deal, isn't it? That's a 100-point swing. Fixed negative opinion modifiers being applied to owners of planets that the Prothoran Scourge is purging, which we didn't have happen to us, so we never noticed it. Extra-dimensional invaders should no longer spawn inside Fallen Empire borders, but that, to me, sort of implies that they'll spawn inside other Empire borders. Reduced chance of generating the improbable orbit anomaly. Fixed the Master's teaching edicts to not be applied after they were finished, which is fine. Colonial failure will no longer hand out colonization tech you already had, which makes sense. Fixed an issue with the voiceover not triggering for the mining station, which I noticed in the tutorial, but we're long past that now. Research robot pops are always listed, but they won't be buildable if AI is outlawed. Injured Queen projection is now properly cancelled if somebody else does it first. Species procurement event chain now correctly refers to planet names, so I've been complaining about that. It used the ship names, but now it has the planet names. Various other localization bugs have been fixed, those planet name things. Fix some faction events not printing planet names properly. Again, that's all different things. The loyalist affiliated candidates now display proper faction names in elections view, so that's good. You can see who's actually loyal to your cause or not. Apparently, observation post events would not print the planet name correctly either. They had planet name problems all over the place. They changed the way native reservations are placed for colony event related to colonizing planets that have primitives, which makes sense. Fixed a bug where missiles could appear on the galaxy map, which, by the way, I didn't even realize you could colonize primitive worlds. I probably should have realized that and tried to. Ring world habitability is now the proper localization again. The destroyer assembly yard apparently didn't require a correct spaceport level build. You could just build it anyway. Fixed an issue where the trait randomization didn't respect opposing traits. Fallen empires are now able to build armies, which is terrifying. They didn't need to be able to invade planets. Excuse me. Fix an exploit where you could reduce the cost of resettlement by moving pops around. Had I known about that, I would have done it, so that's probably a good exploit fix. Newly enlightened countries should no longer be despicable neutrals, which makes perfect sense. If you enlightened them, why would they hate you for it? But at the same time, there's a certain schadenfreude to that. Right-click not working to give additional orders while in FTL, so that's been fixed, which is good, because that was, I'd imagine, annoying for some people. I queue up too many things at once to even have it be an issue, but it makes sense that you'd want to be able to do that. Embassies and rivalries would remain even after Empire was annexed. That doesn't make any sense. Fix an issue where it could always enable edicts. That's unfortunate. Because apparently you could go over the cost. Fix swarm infestors and constructors, sometimes not reinforcing properly. Robot pop should no longer get shuffled ethics from divergence. Heirs now keep the dynasty name of the ruler in monarchies, which is kind of cool. More localization problems. Fixed 3 achievements that we had never actually gone for. Some things couldn't be mined and some things were broken. The change speed with plus and minus on the American keyboard, they're meaning the ones that are in the number row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, not in the 10 key, because that's how I've been using it all the time as a 10 key. I just assumed, oh, it's supposed to be 10 key. Okay, that's fine. Then I realized that most laptops and other things don't have 10 keys these days, so that makes sense to me that they want to do that. Ethics divergence apparently were problems, so that's been fixed. Frontier outposts and sectors would cost no influence maintenance, which was fantastic, actually. I don't know if I've ever noticed it, but now they do, which is unfortunate. Apparently ship accuracy was not being calculated correctly, so that's been fixed. Ethics to newly generated pops do no longer have, ethics divergence. Custom ruler and, incorrect ethics divergence. Custom ruler and air titles will now be properly saved and loaded. Fixed armies being stuck on planets. Planets recaptured from the AI Empire will no longer randomly become tundras, which seems like a huge problem. That it used to happen. They fixed the AI Empire having slightly self-destructive ideals about AI legality, which is fine. And this is an example of you can have ruler titles. So the Paradoxian Cooperative here with the Platypus Mammalian type. I could see that this is a guy, he's a CEO, and the heir is the COO. So that is the patch notes. I'm going to flip around, you're going to see my desktop background here for just a second. That gives us only about 5 minutes to play, so I'm just going to cut this one a little short. I know this is not really a gameplay episode, and but what I can tell you is at least we will continue with the Iranian Alliance directive on the next one because it's possible, and because it's not this patch did not require a save game changes, which is awesome. So thank you so much, Paradox, for not making me have to start over again, and then hating you because I'd have to start over again for Asimov, and then hating you because I'd have to start over again for, I don't know, Heinlein or whoever you named the third one after. I think it might actually already be named Heinlein, but I do appreciate that. So I'm really excited about these changes, and it's kind of a small cap out for this week's video, or this day's video, I understand that, but don't worry, there will be more tomorrow where it comes from. And if you're not already on the Factorio forums, you should do that and anticipate and participate and all those other issipates. So a lot of fun times. I'm off to a wedding. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. I hope everything is working well for you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, click the like button. Consider subscribing to the channel to stay updated on everything as it happens. And until next time, cheers.